Over to you, Paresh, sir. Your life.
Hello and welcome to another episode of In Conversation With. In Conversation With is a management series by CASI Global New York, where we invite senior management professionals from the industry from across the world in search of executable advice. So today is a very interesting session on drones. In fact, this is day 2 of the 3-day seminar which we have on drones, policy, process, impact and business. Now, today our chief guest for the day is Dr. Bal Singh Rajput, the Deputy Commissioner of Mumbai Police. We also have very interesting people with us, Cyril from Jonet Technologies and Vipul from RO Unmanned. We also have Narang Saab from the Industry Association of Drones. So hello and welcome to the show, everyone. My name is Paresh and I am a member of the Board of Directors at CASI Global New York. We are the world's largest platform for sustainability with a presence across 52 countries. We also run a very large volunteering platform with a reach of over 3 million volunteers. So before we begin the session for today, I have a question. And please give me a short answer so that we can move on to the presentations. Now the question is, the drones is the next big thing. The drone business is the next big thing. And all of us understand that there are so many things, so many processes in business that can be achieved by using a drone quickly tomorrow morning at 9 o'clock. But still there is an impediment. We are yet to use it. We lack technology. We lack the willingness. We lack investments. We lack policy. Where are we going wrong? What is the number one impediment, in the success of the drone business? What is the number one impediment? Anyone can take this on question. Vipulji, would you like to take that?
Sure. So first of all, very good evening to everyone. This is evening here in Bangalore to all the viewers everywhere else in the world. So just to answer that question, there were many impediments for the sector 6 months back. A good majority of them have been removed. Now, one of the major impediments which was holding the sector back from almost last 3 years in India was the regulatory ecosystem. While we revived regulations multiple times, we made multiple standards, there was still something left out from the implementation point of view. So this being an emerging sector, very fast growing sector, before we really understand the current version, the future version is always there at the doorstep. It was difficult for the regulators to catch up with the advancement, the speed of the advancement which was there in this particular segment. Even today, the speed at which this particular segment is advancing in terms of what it can do, what technology, what capability, what use cases is moving very fast. That was one of the reasons which kept the regulators back from understanding the impact of this technology on the general life of citizens, Indian citizens, or I would say global citizens as well. So because of disproportionate or biased perception about the threat this technology poses, certainly this technology has its own disadvantages and threats which it poses around security and safety. But on the other side, it has got way heavier, or I would say outweighing advantages to the society. So that difference of perception was the reason why there was more bias towards the threat perception rather than the advantage which this technology can deliver to the world. And that was keeping the regulators aback from opening up these sectors. They were very conservative. The risk appetite was less. But about 3 to 4 months back, and also with the uses of this technology for reviving some of the, or I would say providing solution to some of the very old and complex problems at large scale, the decision makers in the political as well as bureaucratic leadership understood that yes, this technology has got much more impact than we were thinking of to provide to the society, and hence their risk appetite, the risk perception reduced, and the impact, the perception towards how much impact, positive impact can be created increased. And that brought the newer version of the policy which opened up this sector. So that impediment is gone. The second thing is
now the road is clear.
Now the road to expansion, growth, impact, bringing this technology to common people as well as impacting their life in multiple ways is gone. Those limitations are gone.
Absolutely. My next question is to Cyril. It's on technology, but before that, I would like the opinion of Narang Saab. Narang Saab, a quick query to you. You deal with the industry association of drones, so you talk on a daily basis with the players, with the government. You have a holistic view. Which segment? What are the top three segments that would benefit drastically from usage of drones? Is it defense? Is it agriculture? What are the top three segments you feel will benefit?
Uh, See, the advantage, the innovation is led by the civil industry, and most of the innovative outcomes are helping both the segments. Now, if I talk of some of the technologies which have evolved in the last few years, they started with innovation in the private sector, and now some of the benefits we are reaping in the defense industry. So defense industry is benefiting because of existing ecosystem. The civil industry has a much larger reach in the country. So I think both sectors are moving side by side.
Okay. Thank you for that. Cyril, you are a young master's degree holder from UK. You have been preparing for a career in drones. Tell us your opinion on technology. Are we somewhere near being the market leader? Are we borrowing technology? Are we not yet there? Will we be there, or are we already the number one in technology?
Yeah, well, the first thing what I would say is like we are definitely going to become market leaders as I'm talking as Indian. So like as Vipulji was saying, like there were a lot of backlogs, like hurdles for us to reach the stage where we are right now. And the policymakers have made it much more easier and opened a huge gateway for the Indian industry. So like I always say, like we Indians, we are always like clever, we are smart, we are like very skillful. So I don't think like probably until now we were just adapting this kind of technology, but now that they have given us a headway to go ahead, we don't have to adapt anymore. We can start becoming innovators, and we can show the world that like the pathway of creating new technology, especially in
Sure,
drones.
that is a holistic statement to make. But what about the real deal? Do we have corporates focusing on bettering the technology? Do we have companies working on the technology, or do we just have companies in India which take the technology as is and try to put in the application? So we are working on the applications or on the technology. Are there enough companies working on the technology side of it?
Well, there are like few companies who are actually working on the technology. So like the only thing what we don't have the luxury is that like we are not making a component wise manufacturing setup. So once we reach up to that level, then of course like we can become like a good technology leader in the drone industry. So I think like now since the government has changed the rules, and we are like there are a lot of companies coming up making like component wise like motor, battery, ESC, like there are a lot of companies actually coming up and making this kind of activity. So like now that the way is clear, there's a huge potential for us, and there are companies, yes, there are companies just focusing on the technology as well.
Oh, nice to hear that. We can start with the presentation by Cyril, but I have got one more question for Narang Saab. Sorry to rope you in again and again, Narangji, but I don't want to miss the opportunity. You are on the show, and we would like to have the best of your knowledge. I have seen advertisements of pizzas being delivered by drones. Do you think in the near future that is a possibility in a city like Mumbai?
See, the main concern of a city life is safety of the drone and operation in a urban area. I think urban area is still evolving. It'll take some time, but I think it'll happen, but it'll take its own time. BVLS trials are already being done. So I see that BVLS is coming into being very soon. So and once those concepts are proven, because it will move gradually from segregated or rather safer areas then into city areas. But I think time is not far out. So I'll leave it at that.
So, so we can look forward to having our pizzas delivered by drones.
Yeah, so I think it's just a matter of time. The innovators are sitting in front of you. They are there, and they know the realities of drone operation from the very word go. So they know that they understand the aspects and complexities and the challenges of operating drone beyond a particular range, and also operating over urban areas. So Mumbai is a very high density urban area. The challenges are even more complex, and that one aspect I'm sure every operator will keep it in mind before we get into it, because even insurance agencies would like to be very sure, and I think these developments will give us more confidence to work on it.
Absolutely, sir. That's a good angle, insurance. In fact, Dr. Mitesh, next time let's get an insurance guy in the seminar. Let's have his opinion also from the risk management point of view. Yeah, we should do that. Cyrilji, over to you, please. Please tell us your thoughts, your presentation on the drone policy and business.
Well, I am actually talking about the drone technology here. I'm not.
Do you have a presentation? I'm sorry. Do you have a presentation?
Yes.
Yeah,
I
please,
think
please,
Dr.
please.
Mitesh is sharing. Yeah. So what I'm going to talk here is I'm not going to touch about the policy and like the markets as such. I'm going to talk about the evolution of drones and what are the new technologies going to come in picture in the future. So
Absolutely.
that's the presentation is about. So let's start with the presentation. So basically, I want even going to the future. Like I just wanted to give you a brief history of how drone actually evolved within the world. So I got this beautiful like illustration from internet, of course. Like if you can go to the next slide. So this illustration gives you a proper date-wise milestones of like important events, what are like how drones have been like used or like invented. So basically, it all started by the French. These French people, they created this hot balloon, like a hot air balloon, and they made it unmanned, and they sent it for surveillance purposes. So what they actually did was like they started this kind of experiment way back in the in the 1783, and then like in the 18th century, they attached a camera and they wanted to take aerial photograph of Eiffel Tower. So that was the first recorded usage of drone using for aerial photography. And then like immediately all these neighboring countries like Austria, Sweden, they all adapted the same trend, and they also wanted to show off their like capability like making unmanned systems. And then quickly this trend moved on to the US and the UK. So in US in 1898, like Nicholas Tesla, like the guy who created the electricity, the guy like he demonstrated a radio controlled boat. Okay, it was not an aircraft, it was a boat. So he controlled he floated the boat, he operated the boat, and he made like lights to on and off on the boat. So this was like an unbelievable demonstration at that time. People actually thought like this guy was a magician, and or like and there were like in fact few people thought that this guy trained a monkey and put the monkey into a boat, and the monkey is the one who's operating. They were not able to believe like the capability of like radio controls. If you can move to the next slide, we will be looking at the adaptation of this technology by the US, and then from 19th century onwards, like from the 1917 onwards, like the US like extensively like invested money and funded the research, and they were like for like I would say for like a century they were like doing research on this. And then another notable country on the next slide, you will see that which quickly adapted this drone into drones was Israel. So during the 1970s, Israel was at the peak of a war with the Arabs. And to be precise, during 1973, there was a famous war called like Yom Kippur War, which was fought between Israel and the Syria in order for the geographical acquisition. So we all know the saying like necessity is the mother of invention. So like these guys had a necessity to create weapons or like some kind of system to have an upper hand over the enemy. So they adapted this kind of drone technology, and they like, we all know like how where Israel is right now in terms of drones. Like the Indians are still Indian defense is actually still using Israeli drones like Herons and Searchers, like it's actively being used in the border areas even right now. And then after that, in the present state, we all know like how drones have evolved in the next slide. We all know how drones have evolved, like from operating the drones via telephone, operating a drone like a quadcopter, like a DJI has become one of the market leaders, and then like from drone delivery and everything. And this is where we are like presently like properly situated in terms of drone industry. So the next thing what I want to talk is about the future of drones. So basically, drones like can be categorized as three different varieties. Like first one would be the fixed wing type of drones. The second one would be the the single copter or a camcopter or a helicopter type, and the third one will be the multi-copter. So multi-copter can be like quad, XR, octa, like depending on the number of motors. So the current research, like I wouldn't say research, the current usage, the new usage of drones is something we call it as loiter munition. The next slide, please. So in this loiter munition is nothing but it's a drone which carries a explosive as a payload. So this drone can actually like fly autonomous and can hit the target, like whatever the target you set, you feed the target to the drone, or you lock the target while the drone is flying, and this drone can actually go and attack the target. So this is one of the latest technology in the drone industry, and like all the world has been like behind this technology, and there are a lot of researches happening in the Indian drone market also, like for this loiter munition. So this particular loiter munition can be launched either from an ongoing aircraft or a drone or a bigger mother drone, or it can be launched from the ground platform as well. So this is one of the notable like advancement in the drone technology. And the next one is the swarm technology, where like swarming means like a multiple drones all flying together in a formation. So in the future days, like we won't be having war for like days or months. The war will be just for hours. So people will just go launch this kind of technology and finish the war in like 2-3 hours, and just go back to home and they have a cup of coffee. So that is where we are heading with the drone technology. Vipulji was saying that the threat was like something, one of the major hindrance for the Indian drone policy makers. So now, like I would consider that these policymakers have found out the way that like this threat can be eliminated. The threat from a drone can be eliminated only by another drone. So the advantages of using a drone is actually overpowers and overweighs the threat. So swarming and loiter munition are the most latest development in the drone industry, which are actually like currently happening. The next thing is something called as like combat air teaming system. So which means like a manned aircraft and an unmanned aircraft will fly together, and they organize, they form, they talk to each other, and they eliminate the target. So in this case, the whole concept here is like they wanted to keep the manned aircraft within the border. So in that case, the risk for the pilot's life is like reduced to it's like totally reduced. So the unmanned systems like can be operated either by the pilot sitting from a fighter aircraft, or it can be controlled by a ground station. So in this case, like gives like a very good upper hand for the defense system of any country. And I think like our Indian defense system is actually working with HAL for this kind of concept, combat air teaming system. And the next one is like we all know that like these days like reusable rockets have become the talk of the day, where they use rockets to launch satellites into the space and recover the rockets. And like even then the cost of operating a rocket is like way too high. So there's a company in the US, they are actually like working with this concept where they wanted to use an unmanned aerial system to carry the satellite, and this drone will actually reach up to the low Earth orbit, and from there they will launch the satellite, and this drone will come back, and this drone can be reused. So the costing compared to launching a satellite from a rocket is like too high. So this concept, if it's been proven, research is going on. If it is proven, it will become like one of the best alternative for launching satellites into space. The next one is like, of course, like urban air mobility. So future of drones, like I cannot talk future of drones without talking about urban air mobility. So like the transport, the way the world is looking at the transportation system is entirely going to change. So just order a taxi through a like mobile app or something, that a taxi will come to your location and will just pick you up and drop you to the destination in just like less amount of time. So like, but me personally, like I don't know, like I need to like probably hear from Narang sir and Vipul sir, or like how feasible this is gonna be, because like I personally think that this, yes, of course, this is a like amazing concept, amazing technology, but implementing in cities, like I don't know like how feasible it's going to be. And like in this slide I mentioned a company called Boom. These guys started this urban air mobility during 2016, and they shut down the company in 2020. And the CEO famous he quoted saying that it is not a question of whether the unmanned air mobility market will open up, it's just a question about when. So even I do have the same question, like when. Like I have no doubts that this will not going to happen. This technology, this concept will definitely work, but when and how are we going to accommodate this, the airspace and accommodate this unmanned systems and the commercial flights, like integrate both in a single airspace. And the next one is like very interesting. It's called as unmanned aerial sensor placement. So research is going on this technology where a drone will actually launch a sensor shaped in a form of a dart. So like this is actually specially being researched to study forest. So what they are doing is like densely forested area where humans cannot go, they are going to launch this drone, and the drone will shoot the sensors, and the sensors will be placed in a tree or a plant or any place. So there will be like multiple of sensors, and these sensors can relay data to each other. So this will form a multi-node kind of system where like the data from one sensor will get transferred to the other sensor, and it just carries on. And the sensor closest to the ground station will collect all the data and will transfer to the ground station. So in this case, they can actually read the motion, the movement in a forest, the life of a tree, the life of a forest, the health of a forest, and everything. So like this is the first stage they're gonna research upon, and of course, like after this becomes success, we're gonna implement this in other areas as well. And the next one is also very interesting. So I would say the evolution of drone in the future can be divided into two different categories. One is the combat capability of the drone, and the other one is the propulsion system. And when I say propulsion system, it means like how eco-friendly the drone is going to be. So in this cyclorotor, this is a very new concept where the blades, like it's not a conventional blade, the blades are placed in a radial orientation. So when they change the angle of incidence of this particular blade, what happens that the thrust produced and the direction of the thrust changes instantaneously. So in that case, what happens, there is no loss of kinetic energy. So this will again like become very efficient in terms of energy, and this will become very eco-friendly because you're not going to use any conventional propulsion system, and the oral signature is going to drastically reduce. And again, the next one is also similar kind of this, where they use ions to propel a drone. So this concept is called as like Electro Aerodynamic thrust, where they will use two cables or wires, and the front cable will be positively charged with they'll send a positive voltage in the front cable, and the second cable they will have a negative voltage. And because of this voltage difference, there will be electromagnetic field, and this electromagnetic field will in turn create a lift force. So in this case, there is no moving object or a propulsion or a motor, nothing is required. All you have to do is just give pass electricity through these wires, and the drone will fly. Again, this is still in a very like nascent research level state, but there's a huge potential for this, and the scientists are anticipating like this technology can be carried forward even for a commercial airline, where like you will eliminate the sound of an engine, you will eliminate the environmental the pollution created by the engine, and that is like one of the best, if it happens, if it successes, this is one of the best technology. And the next one is based on the form factor of a drone. So in this case, this is like a drone. It's a single drone and can morph itself into a multiple shape. So it has an onboard sensors and cameras and everything. So for example, if this drone has to be sent into a mine or a trouble created by an earthquake or a cave or something like that, if there is a small opening, the drone will sense that opening and adjusts its shape according to that opening, and it goes into that opening, and then again it comes back to its original form. So this is something very interesting, like in the future, where like drones should be able to reach not only on a given space, but like it will be able to learn the space, like, and then like change the its body and its size, its dimensions, like according to the space available. So it's like completely going to become like artificial intelligence and like machine learning kind of stuff. So I think these are the major evolutions that are going to happen in the future, and like a few of the things what I told will be happening in the future. So that's a famous writer, like I've read his book. It's called like Stuart Brand. So he once quoted saying that once a new technology rolls over, if you're not part of the steamroller, you are part of the road. So basically, if you are not adapting the technology, that means the technology is just going to run over you, and then you cannot catch up with the technology. So you have to be in line in this technology. So that's about it. Thank you for giving me this opportunity.
Thank you, Cyril, for that presentation. In fact, that was a very good presentation on the future. So I was talking to a professor from IIT Kharagpur very long time back, and I still remember this because this is something that again an IIT professor told my children, and this professor told this to me around 30 years back now. So he said, if you can imagine something and put it in the movies, yeah, and then that is the starting point, and that discovery will be made 20 years, 30 years hence. So you look at a movie 20 years back, and you see drones. Look at a movie 30 years back, and you see all the artificial intelligence, and that is what we are working on today. So I believe in this futuristic planning. Some of them may seem unrealistic now, but yes, who is to say that it is not possible? So thank you for that.
Yeah. To answer the question what you asked, like are there any companies in India like working on this technology? Like whatever, like the picture, the slide I showed, I know there are few companies, few of my friends in the research field, and like my very own company, we are actually working on this kind of a research-based technology, where we wanted to be the first in the world to come out, like we want the other countries to follow us. Okay, they should see, okay, these guys have made something like this, and we need to implement something like this in our countries as well. So I know people who are like keenly working towards that, and I'm like very much keenly working on something like that, in like my company has given me a very great platform to implement these kind of ideas. So we are there.
Sure, absolutely. Let's take it offline again. I would be very keen to be an investor in some of these companies. So no, let's take it offline. Vipulji, one question before we go on to your presentation. AUS 3D mapping solutions, especially for the power generation, or inefficiencies in power transmission lines. This was one of the lines in your pitch book before you raise funds. Yeah, so Ted, I would be very keen to know about how you are using drones, or how you propose, or you are currently using drones to map inefficiencies in power transmission.
Sure. I mean, I would definitely love to talk about how we do it and what are the various possibilities in which drone technology can benefit this particular sector further. So you see, power generation is a conventional business. However, the mode of power generation and the efficiency at which these enterprises operate keeps changing as the technology evolves. But in a country like India, most of our power is still generated from coal. Almost 60 to 70% of our power comes from coal. We're yet to replace them with renewable sources and alternate power sources, including nuclear. So there are various levels in which drones play a role. First of all, they play a role in improvising the way they consume coal and use that to feed their furnaces in order to generate power. So there is a lot of movement of material which happens in these power plants on a daily basis in, I would say, thousands of tons, sometimes in hundreds and thousands of tons, depending on the capacity. So there is a lot of loss of material which happens during this movement. Sometimes the measurement itself affects the profitability and inventory management and supply chain management of these power plants. So drones are basically able to create or generate data sets around their inventory stocks and the movement of these material at a much granular level. For example, if earlier they were updating their inventory stocks at every 3 months interval in order to figure out how their supply chain should be for the next quarter, today the same data is being generated at weekly intervals. So we're talking about, I would say, 4 data points a year to a transition where they're generating 52 data points a year. And hence the granularity helps these enterprises run their power generation much better. And we have active clients, some large corporates using our solution where we have been able to, I would say, save upwards of 15 to 20% of their losses using drone technology.
Yeah,
So
that's very
just,
cool.
yeah. So, I mean, just to give you a monetary sense of it, just by investing, I would say somewhere around $10,000, $50,000 into the technology, these enterprises have been able to save somewhere around $4 to $5 million of their losses. So that's the kind of return they are getting over the investment they are making into the drone technology just by conventionally changing their way of measurement. Now, on the other side, when you do transmission, India is a power surplus country. We lose most of our power and we don't get power into the corners because of transmission issues. We don't have transmission efficiency and we don't have transmission infrastructure. So I would not say don't have, but they are not up to the mark, or I would say they face a lot of issues because we have different type of terrains and environment. So when you look at these power transmission lines, they run for thousands of kilometers cross country and they pass through different terrains. So, and plus they go through a lot of weather stress as well. I mean, they go through different kind of environmental conditions and they're always loaded. So one of the things which is required for these power transmission lines is to be inspection on a regular basis in order to identify which are the key components of the infrastructure which are under stress. So there are methodologies where the conventional and manual ways of doing these inspections have been automated to a great extent by using drones, where there have been reduction of almost 5 times in the effort and the time which is required to run these inspections. And there has been almost 10 times improvement in the accuracy of these inspections. And hence you come to know about these issues much in advance before they really become a major problem. Hence, preventive maintenance could be done. Secondly, there are a lot of external interventions, or I would say encroachments, which happen to these power transmission line. For example, one of the encroachments which happen is through the vegetation. These power transmission line pass through forests. So when they go through different weather conditions, they sag. And ultimately, the vegetation also grows below them and it starts interacting with these power transmission line and it effectively start grounding them. And hence the power loss starts happening. So there's a lot of power loss happens because of these groundings and sometimes short circuits as well. So by using suitable 3D scanning technology with the combination of drones, one can identify these spots where such issues are occurring and can also quantify the extent at which they are affecting the overall power transmission infrastructure. So you can, with the help of this information, one can avoid such issues much in advance before they really cause to a failure, lead to a failure. On the renewable energy side, drones are being effectively used to inspect wind turbines. They're being used to inspect solar power plants to identify the points of inefficiencies, so that such causes can be reduced or removed before they really lead to any significant failure or lead to any monetary loss to the organization. This is how I would say at a preliminary level, drones are playing a vital role into power generation and power transmission businesses.
Sure. Thank you for that, Vipulji. Let's Let's hear your views on the overall topic, please. You also have a video to show us.
Yeah, I mean, I have. I would rather prefer to really go for a monologue over the video as well as the presentation.
Absolutely.
I think Cyril has done a pretty good job covering all the aspects of drone technology and how it is affecting the society now and it will affect it in the future. So, I mean, I would like to say that everything is an imagination in the beginning. You know, if you talk about doing video calls through phone remotely in 1996 when there was or 95 when we were dependent on landlines, in that to one in one society or in several houses, it would have been a sci-fi movie. But here we go. I mean, I am on a 4G network talking to you all, and that was possible because of multiple things happening together. One of the things happened is the technology evolution done by many entrepreneurs and businesses. And another thing was that the ecosystem enablers like the regulators understood what needs to be created and unlocked in order to facilitate the technology innovators to fulfill their imagination, right? And then third, people understood the advantage of technology for the masses rather than the threat perception which existed at that point of time. So in fact, when the cell phones or the smartphones arrived with the cameras, a lot of misuse was happening and people had so many apprehensions around smartphones that what all they can do on the negatives or from the negative point of view. But today you see the kind of economy we have unlocked when it comes to financial technology, the inclusion of the poor people who are, let's say, farmers or vegetable vendors using smartphones to improvise their businesses and their life on a daily basis. Look at how smartphones have enabled the education of children when there was lockdown all across the world, right? So same trends will be followed in any other emerging technology, including drones. So when we started this journey, I think we started our journey in 2013. We wrote one single line on a big, we had a small 200 square feet office in our institute in IIT Kanpur, and we wrote a a very small line on a big alphabetical sizes on our board that everything which is happening through manned aviation will happen through unmanned aviation. And that's where the imagination starts. You figure out what's happening for manned aviation, and I can tell you that everything now also is a replacement of manned aviation through unmanned aviation, and even in the future, the same thing is going to happen. So now it is an open playground. You can sketch whatever you want, what you really want to replace, and start developing the technology. Second thing which happened over the period of last 8 years is that with the miniaturization of the electronics, especially because of what happened in the smartphone ecosystem, a lot of miniaturization benefit came to the drones. So hence, they became smaller, more affordable, and more democratic in nature and available for almost everyone to carry in their pockets, just like we carry smartphones today. So back in 2013, there was no talk about drones being used for commercial applications or civilian applications. There were drones being used only for defense applications. So in last 8 years, this country using drones, very large drones to do surveillance over our borders, has switched to a condition where drones are now being used to revive centuries old land records problem for the rural population, where every citizen and their 5 generations, at least next 5 generations, will benefit from this project more than I would, if you talk about the current generation, more than 1 billion people will benefit just in India from this technology to get their wealth, which is the land asset for rural population. Land is the wealth counted and considered in the mainstream financial ecosystem, where a farmer can use his residential plot to finance his business, which could be farming, or to get a loan for his or her student children to get higher education, which was not possible earlier because these land parcels were not recognized officially by the financial ecosystem. So we are talking about billions and trillions of dollars of wealth suddenly getting created after 4 5 years once the project get completed in the Indian economy, and the kind of gap which will be there between the eligible, let's say, beneficiaries of credit system. And imagine the amount of money or the FDI which will flow towards India just for lending to the rural ecosystem in India, because they have wealth as an asset to mortgage, right? The land as an asset to mortgage against those debts. And then the kind of economic revival which will happen, and that is being totally initiated as well as enabled by drone technology. All the data is being collected by drone technology. That's one example I'm talking about as an impact to the Indian ecosystem. Now imagine if once the land parcels are decided who owns how much of land, and you want to scan who grows what crops, what is the nature of the crop, what is the health of the crop, and once you identify the health condition of the crop, you would also like to prevent any negative trends which are happening on the crop to improve the yield of the farmer or to improve its overall profitability. Again, drone will come into picture to scan these farms, do the assessment of the crop, as well as also provide the prevention cure basically a cure for these issues which will be identified on the crop by the means of either spraying pesticides, fertilizers, or any other chemical which will help resolve these problems. Could be herbicides as well. On the other side, even drones are being used to do afforestation. So we as a company, we are adding value to what is happening towards mapping the land records. We've got almost 100 drones active in the field right now. In a month period, we will be mapping almost, I would say, 500 villages on a daily basis. That's the scale we will be operating with, and many other companies will venture into this. Many unicorns will be created out of this ecosystem, while we are going to change the life of at least 1 billion people from this particular use case. On the other side, there are use cases happening towards the forest conservation, soil erosion conservation, water harvesting using drones, improvising the irrigation infrastructure, improvising the urban design, improvising the way we distribute potable water to our population, and also the way the roads and with various critical infrastructure like railways are planned, created, as well as managed over their life cycle. So I think drone technology in the current state as well as in the future state, I would say, will basically add efficiency to the entire ecosystem, improve the productivity, and third, will remove the component of dull, dirty, dangerous, and repetitive jobs from the human population. So that's how I see drone technology is going to evolve over a period of time. Now, coming on the other side of the story, there are multiple drone companies working out of India. Many of them are service providers, many of them are manufacturers, and many of them are researchers and purely focused on IP creation. Two things as a country we need to do in order to capture the highest potential and also create global solutions and take our learning from India to the global market. One, create very high value IP, because that's where the real wealth and control on the technology and evolution will happen. So we need to really focus on deep tech, fund deep tech, have appetite for failure, because that's what happens when you really venture into deep tech. It's a part of the journey. Then the second part is to have independency on manufacturing bit, so that we are not dependent on imports to manufacture very basic set of components, which can be very easily manufactured by using the talent pool and the infrastructure available in India. So it will have various levels of impact. One would be to create a lot of employment, which is a direct benefit whenever you do manufacturing within the, let's say, domestic territories. Second, it will enable us to reimagine or imagine the next version of the innovation. So it will enable the IP creators to freely think about what they can create, because there will be a local manufacturing ecosystem to convert their imagination into practicality, or convert their theoretical research into a practical research, because without manufacturing, you can't do it. Then the third will happen is that we'll be not controlled by global powers, which sometimes becomes very detrimental when it comes to taking the lead role in the emerging technology. Look at space, look at defense, look at AI. Definitely, we should learn from the past and learn how the advancement in the technology have been used against various ecosystems and economies to put them behind and also make them dependent. So as a country, we need to learn from that. And the last and the most important thing is the investments. So a lot of money has to be put into this sector. So through our viewers who are in India and abroad, I would request that you should do research about this ecosystem. There is a lot of potential. Companies are growing at almost 100x every year sustainably. So far, the regulatory ecosystem was not there. So many of the companies which are surviving today have learned how to grow, how to run a fast growing and profitable business, which is a very difficult combination to achieve. You cannot have a 3x, 4x growing business which is profitable in the current era, but there are companies which are doing it. So people need to really think seriously about this sector, take it seriously and invest into it through various mediums. The conventional financial ecosystem have started recognizing this sector. Drones are now counted as tangible assets as we speak by the conventional banking ecosystem. However, there is a gap. The venture capital ecosystem, the private equity ecosystem is still falling behind, and conventional financial ecosystem has taken the leap forward and started recognizing drone as a critical sector. So with new policy changes happening, government giving the performance-linked incentive to the manufacturing ecosystem, giving more priority to indigenously developed and manufactured technology, and a lot of impact coming to the mainstream masses, I see sky is the limit for everyone who's into the drone segment, not only in India but abroad as well. There is a lot of potential to collaborate. There is a lot of potential where foreign companies can bring in pieces of technology and help and work with Indian companies to increase the impact factor, and vice versa as well. Because the complexities of any problems in India is very at different level. A lot of people who have been able to solve and establish this technology in India can actually implement these technologies for other countries which are struggling from the same problem. So there is an opportunity where industrialists, investors, and think tanks working in other territories, other geographies can tie up with Indian companies and take their solution to the global markets. So that's all from my side. I just wanted to throw some vision instead of talking about what this technology is all about. There is a lot of things on the internet. Cyril did a great job. So that's where the way forward, and happy to discuss further aspects and associate with anyone who would like to associate with us.
Thank you, Vipulji, for that. That was a holistic view, and I am sure the future is good for the drone industry. I am myself looking forward to understanding this industry a bit better. With that, we come to the end of the session for the day. This was day 2 of the 3-day, 3-day seminar. So tomorrow again, I welcome all of you to join us tomorrow. We have Richard Gill from London. He works in the defense systems for drones. And then we have 2 more speakers from India. So finally, before we sign out for the day, I would request Narangji to have the final word. Narangji, a few words before we sign off for the day, please.
Mitejji, Indian drone industry, as I said yesterday, is an opportunity for people to grab. It's an opportunity where collaborations are possible. It's an opportunity where Indian talent is willing. Now, I think we have to look at the Indian drone industry not only as an industry for India, but industry for the world. Indian industry has the capability to develop products for the world. Indian industry, because drone technology is a very complex technology, and secondly, it's an evolving technology. Since it's an evolving technology, new ideas, new technologies, new systems have to be integrated to meet the challenging requirement of safety, security, and many other aspects of it. So it's an opportunity which people must grab, willing to collaborate with us, and look out for Drone Federation of India's Drone Festival coming next month. It's an opportunity to interact and know about India's drone industry. 13th, 14th is November is a date. Come and meet the Indian entrepreneurs. They are there to tell you what they can do, and of course, bring your expertise and make Indian drone industry a pragmatic industry. And let's not serve India, but serve the world. Thank you.
Thank you very much for that, Narangji. Where is this taking place? Is it in Delhi or is it in Mumbai?
It's in Delhi. Since because Corona is there, there is a limitation of people, so it's on by invite. Of course, people can get in touch, and of course, we have a virtual version.
Sir, I'll definitely reach out to you. I would love to be a part of that.
Yeah.
And meet these young startups as an investor. Thank you very much. Thank you all for being here with us today. This is Paresh signing off for the day. Thank you very much for being here. Thank you.